proceed. Good afternoon, people. I would like to, well, today is September the 27th. It's on a Monday, 2020, and I'd like to...
Pardon, is anyone else hearing a certain amount of background scratching noise?
Nope.
No, I don't know. Can you hear us okay?
Now I can. Oh, good.
Okay.
It may have been me shuffling papers.
Yeah. So I'd like to bring the meeting to order here. We have on the agenda, actually, before I do that, I'd like to introduce our remote people. We have Adrian Lasan. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Adrian? Hello?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And we have attorney for the Hutnecks, and that would be?
Lauren Sparks.
Lauren. Okay, thank you, Lauren. And we also have the Hutnecks, and we have the Duprees. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. With that, I'd like to introduce our, well, I'd like to actually introduce our attorney, Richard Bowen. He'll be representing the Board of Health here in Douglas. With your approval, Attorney Bowen, may you please proceed with the first article on the agenda this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, fine.
Okay. Just my purpose is to conduct a little inquiry here to figure out whether we still have a live complaint and to figure out what, if any, steps would be appropriate going forward, hopefully engaging the cooperation of both the complainant and the respondent. So for the complainant, who do we have? Was it Attorney Sparks?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay, and Attorney Lassen for who next? Okay.
No, the Duprees.
I'm sorry?
That would be the Duprees, Attorney Lassen.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. So for purposes of just framing this so that I have a proper understanding and so that we know what our jurisdiction is here. Originally, this came before the board on the grounds that a well was contaminated, the water wasn't fit for drinking, and the question, if you go to finish, and there was a question as to what the source of the contamination was, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, and the assumption was that the contamination was coming from piggery, correct?
Yes.
And then subsequent to the complaint that was made, it was discovered that there were 8 pigs, which was in excess of the 4 allowed by, it was a town Board of Health regulation or a town bylaw?
It was a
Board of Health regulation.
Regulation. It was a regulation, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and the pigs have since been removed from the premises, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, now the Board of Health had asked that there be some testing done, and perhaps the attorneys can respond to this. It's my understanding that that testing hasn't occurred.
I can speak to that, Attorney Bowen. This is Lauren Sparks on behalf of the Hutnecks. I'm not sure if you received my submission that was provided to the board earlier today, but the Hutnecks retained the respected environmental consulting firm Wilcox and Barton Inc. Out of New Hampshire to collect a sample and to execute testing on that sample. They also did a site visit and prepared a report for the board's consideration. The lab results did reveal that, in fact, the drinking water has been contaminated by E. coli, and the report further opines that it is unlikely that anything from the Hutnack's septic system would have contaminated their drinking supply, and in fact, it would have come from the piggery next door. I'll add that, and as you can see from my submission to the board, the Hutnacks had extended an invitation to the neighbors to come to send a qualified expert per the Board of Health's order to collect a sample. After 2.5 months of those arrangements never having been made, and after 2 trespasses on the Hutnacks property by the neighbors, despite my several communications to counsel for the neighbors that they were not welcome on the property, the Hutnacks arranged to have their own sample collected at their own expense by this environmental firm, and they have proceeded to chlorinate their well so that they can have drinking water, safe drinking water again, which they have not had for months.
Okay. What does the attorney for the respondent have to say to that?
Without getting too much down into the weeds with the characterization of the chronology of communications regarding entry, I think all parties agree that I guess Dupuis were not able to enter to test. I do contest that there was any trespass. They twice came attempting to move in or move under the order, and when they were told that they were not going to be allowed, they simply turned around and left. On one of those occasions, they did come with a qualified expert, and I apologize for not having been able to submit the name of the expert in advance, but I don't believe that was a necessary condition of the order. You made some objection to chain of custody. The person who was coming to collect the sample had a conforming container, sampling tape, and that would have been sufficient under the law. So I don't think that it would have raised the chain of custody issue that you have alleged. But now that the well appears to have been chlorinated, that makes our debate about doing parallel testing, I think, redundant at this point. I don't think we need to dwell too deeply on that. Though we did attempt to carry out the order that the town had issued on the 27th of June, we were unable to do testing of the neighboring well and have taken samples from the Dupuis well to be tested. The results have not come back yet.
Maybe the attorneys can address this. Why should the Board of Health continue to maintain jurisdiction over this matter? It seems as if there is drinking water available. The excess pigs, if I can put it that way, have been removed. What's left for the Board of Health to act on?
The Hutnacks would submit that the Board of Health order has not been complied with at this time. A small portion of the 75 square foot pig pen has been covered by a tarp. That is not the entire surface. Additionally, the Hutnacks do not yet have clean drinking water. They are in the process at considerable expense to themselves to have a new well installed, but they are not there yet. And further, I would just add that they have to replace all of their appliances, and if permitted the opportunity, Stephen Hutnack would like to address the board and just discuss his experience generally. This has been very trying, but this is an active issue that the board, we hope, will continue to oversee to ensure complete compliance with the remainder of the order that has not been carried out yet.
So which parts of the order haven't been carried out yet?
Taking remediation efforts to cover the entire surface of the pig pen, which was right on the property line between the two properties. It's unclear that what has been put on the surface of the pig pen will prevent future contamination of their new well.
Okay. Is that it?
There is plenty more.
Well, if you'd like to itemize it,
Before we get into discussion by the clients, all I'm trying to do is pin down which parts of the Board of Health
Yeah.
order have not yet been.
May I answer the comment on the compliance with the order? So there's an allegation here that the open surface has not been fully covered. So there are two issues that I wanted to bring up in relation to this. The first is that the pig pen was removed in its entirety, and much of the area has been covered with a vegetative cover. Areas that were soil or that might be subject to water sheeting, which is the hypothesized but not fully established vector that they've claimed, is covered. So area that would have been open soil that could be subject to hydrological sheeting is indeed covered. The other area has a vegetative cover. And the second portion was that the order from the 27th does not contain mandatory language with regard to covering. If we were to look into the statutes of construction for how you interpret orders and things like that, when you say should, that's advisory. It is appropriate that that had been advisory because it didn't have finding of fact to support it at that first meeting. During that meeting, I specifically during the hearing requested for finding of fact prior to any mandatory actions being issued. The board did not reach the finding of fact. They did not link the suggestion that they had with particular evidence. We asked specifically about the appropriateness of a biological cover. They said they wanted some plastic to be installed. We said we order plastic. It took a month for the plastic to arrive. When it came, all areas that were open and potentially exposed to rainfall, which was the concern that the board had discussed, were promptly covered. So the area that...
So it's your position it wasn't mandatory, but that in any event you covered what you thought should
out of
be
an
covered?
abundance of caution, that's correct. Because we wanted to reserve the ability to say that that entire clause of the order was discretionary, because it didn't have mandatory language that was required. But in an attempt to comply and to show good faith in dealing with the board's orders, we did go through and cover the area that wasn't vegetated. And are still open to discussing further mitigations if they believe at the current site, structure and confirmation, there's still risk of sheeting. But we believe that current hydrological situations, especially as we move out of that particularly rainy summer, will not result in the sheetings of any wastes. And that's not to say that we conceded that wastes came from here. We had brought up earlier in our discussions over the last month that we think that if there is the presence of E. coli, as the most recent test result has established, or at least shown, it is equally likely that the many years of bovine cultivation or neighboring pasture could have resulted in the presence of those bacteria. The recommendation report, which came in at 4:45 today, I have not had the opportunity to get a thorough analysis. I teach a negotiation course at UMass Dartmouth that began at 4:25, so that report came in during the lecture, and I had to split attention, so I haven't given it the fine-tooth consideration that it probably deserves. But even if it is to show that the origin of the contamination is not a failed septic system on the Hootnick's property, which I think is still an important factual issue to discuss, that report does not definitively establish that my clients were the source of any E. coli contamination. That would require a secondary inquiry, which, while we can engage in, I think at this point, if the well is being chlorinated, it takes it out from being an emergency issue, and it could be one that the parties were truly interested in pursuing. It would be more appropriate in civil court.
Okay, now, am I correct? The only area of disagreement, setting aside questions of causation, the only issue that I'm hearing with respect to the board's jurisdiction is this issue of sheeting or cover. Am I correct that that's the only area that's left that is being argued between the two parties, whether off or whether it was done?
What else?
If that don't take
Either counsel.
Ms. Sparks, did you have an opinion? I can present.
Just a second, please.
the pig pen has not been totally dismantled. It is
That would appear to be the only issue, but I believe Ms. Sparks may want to
Are we not concerned
check to see if she has other
cause of the E.
issues.
coli?
Rather the attorneys,
Are we not concerned about the cause of the E. coli?
we are, and this is what they're talking about, yeah.
Attorney Bowen, that repetition of what we perceive to be the outstanding problem subject to the board's jurisdiction is correct, we would ask that the board enforce the order as issued and require the neighbors to cover the entire area of the pig pen, and dismantle it, which is not part of the order, but we do intend to pursue other civil remedies to achieve that end.
Okay. So as the question of enforcement of the order, the pig facility does not exist at this moment, so that point is moot. As it goes to the other elements, you would have to have an order that was supported with finding fact. You have to have a notice of violation before you have that sort of order. Even at the meeting that was present, there was no finding fact. The only report that had been presented to the board on that date came from a company that was decertified to test Massachusetts drinking water in May case. That was sent around, I believe, around the 10th. Rather than act upon the initial set of test results, which I think would pose certain problems, the scope of problem, it would. I think there's no particular reason for the board to move forward if they want to retain jurisdiction to check on future water sheeting after a storm event. They could check back in a certain amount of time, but we would then have to set up, I guess, performance metrics whereby hydrology could be measured, and that's a relatively fact-intensive inquiry that is not necessarily appropriate for this sort of board.
Let me ask this.
I'm going to cut off the video because I'm at 10% power on the cell phone. I'm going to switch to the computer, which has audio but not video.
I understand. I run into that problem frequently myself. So perhaps either council can address this. There's been what has been deemed to be a partial cover. How much more needs to be covered, and is that a difficult thing to do? Assuming any of it needs to be covered.
Well,
We're talking here.
yeah, I sent around some images earlier. Would I be able to share screen for a moment to show everyone, I guess, what the current site conditions look like?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
See if I can cooperate. All right.
Now, even if you just want to give us a square footage estimate, some idea of what it would cost, I think that's the sort of information that would be very helpful.
All right. So the area in question is here. These were just the removed paddocks. Is everyone else able to see that?
Yep.
I can see it, but I can't put it in terms of any kind of scale.
Metric. Right. So, I mean, I guess if we wanted to come out, we saw this was after it was first removed. The area that was covered here in this image is that remaining area that was unvegetated here. This does have grassy covering, but that area has been covered. This area is open.
Number of square feet, how big is that? To me that looks like a painted tarp. I can't tell.
Right. So that is impervious, millimeter plastic. I suppose if we wanted an estimate on the area that is covered, the weight of the plastic, I could call the property owners and they could better inform the board about the features.
Attorney Sparks, how much more than that needs to be covered to get the job done, in your opinion?
So the pig pen itself was 75 square feet. That is approximately 10 by 12 feet.
Okay.
So we would ask that the entire surface of the former pig pen be covered, and also that there be some showing by the respondents that this is an adequate way to mitigate potential future contamination.
Hold on. Hold on.
Go back to this.
If we're talking about a 10 by 12 foot area covered by a tarp, that doesn't sound hard to accomplish. And so certainly what I'd wish is that it just be done. But in terms of the effectiveness, the Board of Health Order June, which some say is mandatory and others say is advisory, just asks that it be covered. without those sort of subsidiary findings that Attorney Sparks is interested in. So at this point, why shouldn't the Board of Health just say, the two of you work it out, get the 120 square feet covered, and then pursue your civil litigation as to causation and as to the effectiveness of the remedy that the Board of Health has, depending on your point of view, either ordered or suggested?
The Hutnacks submit that this is an ongoing health issue that they could be facing, and would just ask for the board's support in making sure that this doesn't happen again. They've been without drinkable water for 3 months. They've suffered health repercussions as a result of the contaminated water, and ask for the board's assistance so that the cost of making sure that they have clean, safe water to drink does not fall solely on them.
Well, hold on right there. The Board of Health doesn't have the authority to award costs and damages. Your remedy for that likely will be in Superior Court. It's the board's interest that there be proper drinking water, and we can't have people without proper drinking water. That's where the Board of Health has authority. The question of causation and costs and damages, that'll be for another higher authority.
Yes,
So,
and to be clear, we do not ask the board, we understand the board's limitation in that respect, but the Hutnacks should not have to spend money out of pocket to get clean drinking water when the board, we would submit, does have authority to impose measures to ensure that they have clean drinking water moving forward, which they have yet to attain.
Counsel, if I may,
I want to hear what those measures are that you believe that the Board of Health can impose to help them avoid costs.
Well, we're looking for, the Hutnacks want clean drinking water. What measures are appropriate to...
I understand they want clean drinking water.
Yes, what measures are appropriate to ensure that their water is protected? That is unclear at this stage based on the record that I've reviewed, but it should not be the Hutnacks' burden to propose ways for the neighbors to stop further contamination of their drinking water.
So we object that it has not been established as a question of fact that we were the source of that contamination. Pursuant to the order and in order to reach, I guess, a cooperative position, we took the step of covering this because you had requested it. But we believe that the source, may produce an exhibit, is likely the multi-year, more than a decade-long use of the neighboring parcel as cow pasture. Now, you've said that there are test results that are recent that show that our parcel is upstream of yours, but I believe you're not the only neighbor who is upstream. You've asserted that you think that sheeting of water off of a pig pen is a source of contamination, but even with your most recent report, I believe, I was able to look at it for a moment, it has not been determined that cows were not a contributing or even singular factor as a source for this contamination. But more importantly, if the pigs have been removed, and in the future, if you still have a contamination issue, then it could not be coming from the pigs. You've asked us to cover with, I guess, plastic, the larger area that is now secured into place in vegetation. As the stormwater question, that may cause remobilization of those sediments because if the grass dies, its roots will move. Not that we are admitting that that is the source of any particulate matter or bacteria, but that if bacteria was there, covering with plastic at this stage may be more detrimental to water quality. As we know from the wetland statutes here in Massachusetts, having intact root structures act as a filter. If you're saying this area had been waterlogged for some period of time or had been exposed to wastes, then the solution you're proposing would cause the opposite of the outcome you desire, which is to keep whatever's in or on soil inert. We tried for the past 2 months at considerable time and expense to find a biological assessment company. And like you, having drawn a company from New Hampshire, we were moving in gradual, widening circles around the location because it is far from Boston and the eastern part of the state where a lot of these companies are located. It becomes very difficult to get someone out during the busy season to do a site assessment when lots of lucrative industrial clients exist. And while this doesn't change the underlying scientific questions you have, it has had a significant practical impact. And in terms of both time and ability to resolve the question. I believe if you and I continue our conversation, we may be able to come up with a useful solution, but I don't see what additional value the board is going to provide you by retaining jurisdiction.
Is the drinking water, is the well that was fluorinated, is that in operation now?
No.
They do not, they still do not have clean drinking water.
Okay, why is that?
Because until last week, we were still waiting for the neighbors to arrange to collect a sample. When they failed to do so after months, we proceeded to ask the town to chlorinate the well, and there are many additional steps that need to be taken before the water is cleared to be consumed. As recently as...
How long will that take?
We don't know. There are additional steps, including replacing all of the appliances. As recently as last night, Mr. Hutnack was carrying gallons of water upstairs to be able to take a bath. So, you know, this is an ongoing health issue.
Rainwater.
Rainwater.
May I ask a question to Attorney Sparks?
Sure.
Is it your contention that no other upstream farms or agricultural operations are contributing E. coli to the numbers you're seeing on site?
I don't think you have any basis to ask that question. Right now, your clients are the ones who have contaminated my client's water, and we are just asking them to do the right thing here. I'm happy to get into various contentions and allegations, and I assure you that we will be doing that in the near future, but at this stage, you know, I've been to the site, we've hired an expert to come, something that you have still not done, and you're making a lot of assumptions here that are unsupported by anybody with a science background about installing more plastic will cause additional contamination. I mean, those comments are completely unsupported, and I'm not going to go beyond what I know and what has been reported to me by people qualified to report to me in the Wilcox and Barton report that has been submitted. So any questions that you have at this point about technical aspects of the case, I would refer you to that report.
Do all parties agree that at this point testing of the well is moot?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes.
what I'd suggest is that the board direct the parties to attempt to craft a joint order to be submitted to the board within 14 days. The draft order to provide that the Board of Health will retain jurisdiction over the matter for the present. We won't put a deadline on that because I think some facts need to be developed further. I'd ask that the board's directed to the parties also ask them to come up with some sort of agreement on how much of the pig pen should be covered, since by the parties' statements that appears to be the only issue in terms of the board's June order that is left open. And I would also like to have some sense, and this doesn't have to be part of a proposed joint order, that we get some idea of how long it will be before the well will be able to be put into operation, so that these people aren't ruining their backs carrying jugs of water up to the bathtub and going through all that kind of inconvenience. Well, more than inconvenience, just medieval lifestyle. So, Mr. Chairman, that's what I'd suggest. I'd turn it over to you and the board for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Bowen. I guess what I'd like to know is, yes, I think our board is concerned about their health and well-being, of course, and without potable water, that definitely is an issue. Like you say, Attorney, is it Attorney Stark?
Sparks.
Spark, I'm sorry. Like what you say, how are we going to determine in the future that their water is going to be uncontaminated? Or I have no idea how you go about doing such a thing. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yep.
I think what will have to happen is that the new well will have to be tested regularly, and I assume something that everybody would want to do anyway, because obviously if the new well itself becomes contaminated, we have an ongoing problem that hasn't been addressed by whatever measures we now put in place or intend to put in place in the next few weeks. So I think realistically that's the only way.
Yeah, I have no idea how you would go about doing that under these circumstances. I guess from this point on, I mean, what can we do as a board to go on from here, from this point? I don't know. I really don't know. Yes.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think what you do is you direct the parties to work out that one issue that's hanging out there from your June order. Mm-hmm. You know, that's something that you took on. That's something that hasn't been addressed.
Right.
Have them come back with an agreement, which you will adopt as an order. Mm-hmm. I think at the appropriate point, once this well is in operation and the appliances, as I think Attorney Sparks described them, are in place, and the well can be drawn upon, I think there'll have to be some kind of regular testing so you know whether what's happening is effective. Now, in terms of things like causation and costs, you know, that's going to be addressed in Superior Court. Right. There will be expert witnesses presented, and right. That'll have to be hashed out there.
Okay.
All we can do at this point is just, we can't make people whole on the kind of damages they may have suffered in the past. All we can do and all we're supposed to do is to make sure that the drinking water there is potable, I guess I should say. Potable. So, you know, we want to know when the well is in operation, and we want to have it tested, and we want to have that coverage issue sorted out. I think that's what's in front of you.
Yeah. Okay, so.
Thank you, Attorney Bowen, and thank you to the Board of Health. We understand that your jurisdiction is limited, and we do appreciate you maintaining jurisdiction and oversight over this as we work out the other aspects of the dispute.
Well, we'll definitely do that, yes. I think that goes without saying. Mr. Hutnick, did you have something to say? Yeah.
Yes, I do. A lot of being missed, the information is being missed about what the total concern is. The well is contaminated, yes. My whole backyard is contaminated because I have a sheet of water, when we get rain, comes off that area where the pig pens were, still are. And it comes down over my backyard. It goes around the right side of my house, the left side of the house, the whole backyard, and then it comes down from the left side into my driveway. The right side goes down across my septic system, and it all goes down into Tinkerville Brook. If we just end this today, you see those pallets that are in that picture? That is, on the far side, the pig pen that's still up, that comes across the back of my property. And when we had Elsa, the hurricane, come through, there was 1.5 feet of water and pig feces with hay bales dammed up toward my stone wall. That is still there. The bacteria is still there. Every rainstorm, whether it be a ½ inch, a ¼ inch, that still leaches down into the ground on top. Now, Adrian keeps talking about underground storage and penetration down into the water table, and it's not that. It's coming across the top of the ground through the stone wall. As long as those pallets remain there and that entire area is not covered from the rain, it will continue to leach across my property. If in 130 days E. coli is dead, if they so chose to go out there and spread cow manure, horse manure, or pig manure, because they can no longer have pigs there, that they're going to have a vegetable garden, that ground still leaches across the stone wall, and my property is still contaminated with the runoff. The agricultural department says that if I am farming land, I cannot put hazmat across my property line onto a neighbor's property. If a berm was built of impervious material from their back property line against the codes out to the front, the high point by their driveway, and a trench was dug to catch any leachate that did get through there and dumped it down into a sediment pond out on the side of the driveway next to Tinkerbell Brook, I would never get contamination on my side. I would be happy.
I understand your frustration, but again, we're limited to what we can do here tonight anyway. I think, and if I'm correct, Attorney Bowen, I believe that, you know, there's only so much that, like you said, that the Board of Health can be responsible for here. I think it has to go on to other litigation, you know, further litigation.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Now, I'm very sensitive to the engineering concern that you expressed about potential flow. Here's the problem that the Board of Health has with that. The Board of Health would need to have in front of it expert engineering reports that describe that type of flow and which demonstrated some causation between that kind of flow and the contamination. The Board of Health doesn't have that yet.
I'd like to also note one objection, just so it appears in the record, as later on be revisited. I guess, neighbor just characterized the runoff as being hazmat. We object to that characterization.
Well, I don't think anyone is qualified as an expert witness, so we can take in whatever testimony. Well, it's not even sworn, is it? But we can hear what we want and give it the weight that we think is appropriate. So here's really what I think needs to happen. I think the two attorneys need to sit down, attempt to draft a joint order. To the extent that you can agree on things in this order, note it. To the extent that you disagree, note it. Bring it back. We can bring it back in front of the board. We will have an agenda item at which discussion and vote is noted on the agenda. If someone wants to come in with engineering experts that can describe some of the things that we've heard about, I think the Board of Health could properly open up a hearing to receive that information, give the other side the chance to review and rebut it and provide its own engineers. We can do all of those things. We're not at the spot where we can engineer a solution on the back of an envelope. So our primary concern right now has to be that we get this well up and running. I'd like to know when that's going to be. We understand that this will be in Superior Court, and there'll be a pursuit of causation and damages, and maybe some of that comes back to the board too. I don't know. But I think that's where we're at.
I agree.
I agree. Thank you.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah, sure.
In the last meeting, it was stated that he had not tested his well in 15 to 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to sit here and tell me that the runoff is what's contaminating his well. In 15 to 20 years, he has not done a proper test on his well, and it's contaminated from me? And as you know, you've been to my property, that shit rolls downhill. Well, I'm not the only source, if that could be the contamination. And not to argue another factor, his well is of one that's way past its time. It is the easiest well to be contaminated by any source, by any means. He could have let his chickens loose, and they could have pooped all around his well, and it could have gotten contaminated. There's deers, there's wild animal in the area. I just want that to be known that in the last meeting, he did state that. And so his whatever he's stating and trying to claim on me that the runoff is solely from me is wrong.
Well, this is why we need professional people in there to,
Yeah, and I got to thank you for telling me to hire a lawyer. I got to really thank you for that.
I mean, all I can say is, I think that as a board, we're trying to protect all of our citizens. We're not just, I'm not focusing on one side here or the other, okay? It should be equal. It should be equal. Okay, we're doing the best we can to do that. So all I can say at this point is it has to go on, it has to go into probably, it has to be tested by professionals. Ultimately, it's going to end up in court. That's the way I feel personally.
Well, I agree with you, but the parties have said that the only issue that's outstanding, we're looking back to that June order, is coverage. I think the parties should work that out. It doesn't seem like an insurmountable task to cure. It's always an emergency when someone loses their well. We look at what could be the source, and we hope we cure it. If there are other contributory sources, I think that will be flushed out in the litigation, or if somebody wants to bring engineering experts before the Board of Health who can talk about site hydrology. We don't have that in front of us right now, but what we do have is an agreement that the pig pen should be covered. So let's have the parties work towards that. And please let us know how long it's going to be before this well is up and running, because I do think that we need to have regular testing of the well once it's running.
We will do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Members of the board, does that sound satisfactory?
It sounds fine to me.
Yes.
Sorry, the only thing I want to correct, that order was July, not June.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Bad note-taking on my part. July 27th. Okay, sorry.
I think I spoke wrong earlier. That's my fault.
Well, we'll manage that. If that's our highest line, we're set. If that's everything else, when might we expect to see something back from the attorneys?
I think 2 weeks is, 14 days is reasonable. Based on my schedule, I defer to Attorney Lassane if he needs more time.
Adrian?
I think we can work with 2 weeks. No problem.
Okay, so 2 weeks from, say, tomorrow, we'll have a proposed joint order for you. The Board of Health, once it receives it, will schedule a follow-up meeting to take it up. If you have any engineering reports or other evidence that you want in front of the board at a subsequent meeting, please try to, I know how experts work. I've been dealing with experts for 4 decades, and I know it's not easy on anyone, but to the extent that any expert materials you're gonna get to us, try to get to us in advance of this next meeting so we all have a chance to look it over and digest it beforehand. The board will retain jurisdiction for now, and does that cover it?
I believe so.
Okay, Attorney Sparks, you're gonna keep us posted as to the progress of the well.
I certainly will, thank you.
Oh. Anything else, folks?
I think that pretty much covers it, unless, okay. I would say so, yes. Somebody? Oh, okay. I would say that covers it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, it's always a pleasure to serve. If you need anything more from me, you know how to get me.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, good night.
Good night.
Thanks.
Thank you, folks, for coming.
Would anyone like
Appreciate
a
it.
hard copy of the submission I emailed in?
I printed it for you.
Oh, okay,
I
great.
did it last minute.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know, I'm so sorry about that.
Thank you for
Take
coming. I
care. Are you
appreciate it.
interested?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for all your help.
Can you guys sign in? I didn't grab it.
Oh, yes.
Were we supposed to sign too? If you can.
Bob, I have to believe
Yeah.
that a technical expert can distinguish the kinds of urine and feces from each
Oh.
species in the world.
Yeah, we need to get some reports. and
But you got to get to
things.
someone who's smart enough in that field to get that.
Absolutely, yeah.
I had sent to you all one of the reports on a DNA assay, which does allow for that level of distinction, but they're fairly involved and expensive tests. But in supporting documents, there's a report on how that works.
Well, at this point, I think that you should be dealing with their attorney and working out these,
Oh, yeah, that was just a...
Yeah, causation.
Sure,
is the
sure,
key.
sure.
Causation is going to be the key.
But thank you anyway for being here.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Attorney Lucen?
Have a wonderful evening.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
you
you.
as well.
And relative to water sample testing, we have a person who does water sample testing for the board. And if she was agreeable, we could probably retrain her.
I think we want a
Yeah, I think we want them to handle their
professional
engineering
outfit to
and water
come in and do it.
testing.
This is too,
Like our well testing
Well, they already
at transfer station?
They already
Yeah.
did test the water.
they
The
did,
company.
yeah.
Yeah, they're going to have an engineer come in
But,
and
yeah,
do a site visit and determine causation.
Yeah.
That's going to be a whole nother ballgame.
that's right. That's right.
But what they need to do is just get potable water as quickly
That's it. I mean, at this point, that's the main issue, is for them to get potable. I don't understand, I don't quite understand why they're replacing appliances.
Can you still do a dug well now? Can you still do a 20-foot
Yeah, you can.
dug well?
You can do it, well,
Theirs is an artesian well.
yeah.
New well.
It's drilled.
Oh, they have a new one now?
They have a
Yes.
drilled well, but they're not able to use it yet. It's not tied in.
But the
it's not-
appliances are like dishwashers and
Oh,
which are
that
going to
type
be
of thing.
contaminated.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, I would imagine
Close.
once they get that artesian well in, then there'll probably be, once that water starts being tested, I'd imagine that water.
Yeah, but when will
But you-
that happen?
But that 20-foot dug well placed in a runoff area down
gone.
You're
middle
right.
of the farm.
Gone.
You're right.
is not-
That well should be the opposite side,
I
you
don't know
know?
why, I mean, he
It
said,
shouldn't even be, to be honest with you.
no, he did say that he put it there because there was a lot of runoff
Yeah.
last minute.
I mean, I don't want to get into, I really don't want to, I'm trying not to get into sides.
No,
He had mentioned, I thank you for recommending, well, what am I going to do? I mean, here
Everybody
they
should
are.
get one.
Yeah, here they are, their back is to the wall, these people, and you know it's going to be litigation. You know.
Yeah.
It's going
yes.
nowhere but to the courts,
Right,
you know?
right.
Of course, I said, yeah, you better get yourself an attorney.
It's going to be hard to prove
Yeah.
causation, but
This is where it goes to court, and they'll dig it all out, you know?
yeah, they'll hire the experts and
Sure,
they'll do
sure.
it.
Anyway,
We can only do so much.
I guess we can proceed with
Absolutely.
our agenda here. And if I may, if you have anything to input into the meeting, just, if you could just state your name before you speak, because we have a new minute taker, and she's not familiar with the people, so if you could.
All right.
Okay, so
And is she watching video or listening to just audio?
I really don't know. Is it video?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so first on the agenda was the 3228 Hemlock Street. We're there. Now, next would be transfer station attendant. Recommendation for hire, and that would be Bert. We're talking about putting him on as a full-time attendee of the transfer station because we lost George. And those of you who are familiar with the transfer station up there know that George was a good, he was a good worker. He was very good. It kind of leaves a gap for us. But Bert is
That's too bad.
he's a good runner-up.
Right.
He's really a good guy himself, and
So- Bob, my question is,
Yep.
should we then, if we go forward with a recommendation for Bert to step into those shoes, should we also make a recommendation to hire another floater
probably,
guy to replace Bert's
yeah,
position?
we probably should. We probably should. Yeah, that's,
Yeah, that place is,
Saturdays only, or?
What was Bert's current?
he was a fill-in, but it turns out that,
Saturdays, right?
yeah, he did a lot of Saturdays, but he also filled in between because we needed that extra person.
Yeah, so
As
can we,
it turns out,
we should put that on the front.
Sure,
You know.
because, for whatever reason, vacations or
sickness.
sickness, I
Yeah.
hate to say,
It's good to have another guy.
But the place also just gets overwhelmed at
it
times.
certainly does, yeah.
And the job is not as simple as it looks.
No, it's not. It takes some training, and, yeah, I mean, George was excellent.
And George is, he has to leave
Yeah, Bert-
permanently? He won't be able to fill in here and there or anything? He's,
He's not wanting to commute from Florida to here.
No.
oh, he's,
I don't understand.
oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
too bad. Well,
I,
good for him.
yeah, it is good for him, but also, Bert is a very good worker up there himself. He knows the system.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, he knows the system, and there's no reason why he shouldn't be recommended.
Well, can I make a motion?
Absolutely.
I'm Corey Howard. Can I make a motion, recommendation that we hire Bert full-time at the transfer station to replace George?
Do we have a second on that?
Dick Skinner, second.
Okay, Dick, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and we have recommended him. We have appointed him, actually,
Could I, yeah.
Yep.
Right. A motion to appoint, that's what it
to a
is.
point, yeah.
Could we also, I don't know if we need a motion, but could we hire another, do that too?
Yeah,
Put
let's,
that-
yeah, we could
post
probably,
that?
yeah, we could probably, well, we can't really make a motion until we have
No,
candidates,
but
and we
we
have
should
to
post it somewhere.
post
that
it,
we can-
yeah. It have to be posted.
Yeah.
How many hours a week? Just 9?
Well, what's he doing?
He does 9 and then whatever.
Yeah, whatever he does, we'll post it that way. And then, if there's a need for more hours, like, depending on,
The budget.
Yeah, we'll have to fill
Yeah.
Bert's shoes, so if Bert's filling George's, we'll have to fill his
yeah,
too.
yeah.
I would think that on the new hire,
Mhm.
the temporary person, that you would want a lot of instruction early.
You're Dick Skinner, right?
Last I checked. So we ought to provide early amount of training before we get into lower numbers of ongoing reminder how to do the job. So I would think that if we did a month's worth full-time for a new hire, that would be well worth the effort.
Well, it's also the expense. We have.
So
to-
I understand budget. I
Yeah.
really,
No, I know you understand budget. I'm just saying, it would be probably the best thing to do, is to do it that way, but we do have to work within what they allow us to work within. So, Right now, if we hire somebody, of course, we'd probably put him in with Dick, because Dick is the most experienced person up there. Okay,
All right.
are we all good there?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, let's do that.
And next thing we're looking at is Tire Day, and that usually is the end of the October, around the end of October, right?
Last 2 weeks.
Yeah, last 2 weeks. Are we setting any fees or
Well-
changing fees, or?
They sent me a couple fees, and I asked for more fees from the tire company, but she's waiting to hear from her manager, so. Looks like they're gonna be the same.
Yeah, okay. Well, if it's the same, that's good.
Yeah.
That makes it a lot
Yeah.
less complicated.
Right, then we don't have to really
Yeah.
think about anything.
And then whatever excess we have, we just throw it over next door to Ben's.
Yeah.
Could do that. It is a fee to take the tires.
Okay.
Good, good, good.
All right. So we all set there? And
So-
next one is on me.
Great.
We've had a couple things. We had this 409 Main Street, it's Northeast Main Street, right down the way here, is an apartment. And basically, these people filed this complaint because there are some issues, no doubt. Some of the issues are, in fact, I just reviewed some of these today with the building inspector. So, he gave me his recommendations and probably go from there. But basically, we have 1, 2, 3. By the way, my name is Robert Brazo. For those of you who want to know. Okay, so we have, we have 7 issues here. Is it 7? Oh, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, actually, we have quite a few. It's more than 7. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 issues. And we have an open stairway that has to be covered, enclosed. It's an inside stairway. And then we have, let me see, this bedroom ceiling. This is a 2-level building, okay, two-story, but with a loft area, believe it or not. It's not much of a loft area, but they call it a loft area. And, okay, that area has some issues up there because they had an open ceiling with a sheet covering the ceiling. So debris from the 3rd floor wouldn't come down into the apartment. They had it nailed up and tacked up in the corner, and it was like this, of course. And there was nothing supporting it. So obviously that has to be addressed. We had, let's see, shower, the bathroom was a disaster. That has to be remodeled. Carpeting was disgusting. That has to be ripped out and replaced. The window, there was a casement window that was non-operable. So that has to be either replaced or repaired. Smoke detectors were okay. Suitable egress from 2nd floor to 3rd floor. They have somebody actually, or they had somebody actually living in that loft area. If there was a fire, there's no way that person would get out. So they're not allowed, they were told that they were not allowed to have anybody living in that area. That should be nothing but storage, if that. Let's see what else. New kitchen countertop, it's crumbling. We have, what else? The good news is, the stringers on the stairway were just like, and they were wobbling like this. I mean, you walk up the stairs and you're all over the place. So there's no support on that, on the stringers. And let's see, okay, that's pretty much it. But the good news is that we're working with the manager of the apartment. She's not the owner, but she manages all the apartments, and the owner is something like, what is it, Kristen, Blackstone? Valley Apartments, something like that. They actually own the property, but she's working with us, and she seems to be willing to address all the issues that we have to.
How long have the residents been there?
Like,
Do we know?
yeah, like about 10 years.
Oh, really, that long?
Quite a while, yeah. Yeah.
Why did they complain now?
Well, they have a new owner that just came in. They tried to deal with it, the issue with the other owner. Evidently, they didn't get anywhere. So they're trying with this owner. And right now, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. I'm saying, okay, good. In fact, I spoke to them today, and she seems to be definitely moving forward on addressing these issues. So that's the good news. So we'll go from there and see how that works out. We had another complaint, and that was, Kristen, if you could help me out here, Bob Josie.
Oh, yeah. Main Street.
Yeah, that was on Main Street also. Is that Main Street? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's right down here in the center. It was a complaint about, certain issues, like, for example, one of the windows was, the sill was rotting out in one of the windows. A couple other things, nothing major. That was probably the biggest thing. Ventilation was an issue. I was told that they will be, the owner will be installing a new exhaust fan in the bathroom, so that should be taken care of. And that was about it for this month, folks, unless you have any questions on that.
I do.
Yes.
I've noticed a couple of things. I live on South Street, so I drive on that all
Yeah,
the time.
Yeah.
There's a place there called Camp Douglas,
Mm-hmm.
and they have lots of people there, so they must have toilet facilities.
Yes.
But I have never heard you say that you've ever inspected that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did inspect
Okay.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
And across the street,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
there is a, what I would call a mobile home.
Yeah.
I don't ever see anyone living in it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's there and it's popped out, and I was just wondering if it's connected to electricity, water, sewerage, if anybody really lived there.
Now, let me see. Which one are we talking about? We're talking about,
There were two homes.
Yeah, there are-
And then the mobile
well, there are two
home.
camps. There's a camp for,
No, these are homes.
no, I'm talking about, you were talking about camps, the
Camp Douglas.
Camp Douglas.
Yeah, that's, yeah,
Kristen, is that,
That's camp meeting,
camp meeting.
the Douglas camp meeting.
okay. Did I inspect that?
You were going to, but I think they weren't getting back to you.
Yeah, oh, that's it. Okay. Yeah, they weren't getting back to me. I called them several times. They never called me back. So what's the deal there?
Well, there are times when the place is loaded with cars, meaning people, and they have to
Okay.
have toilet facilities, and I was wondering if anybody ever inspected the toilet
No,
facility.
I guess I'll have to give them another call, yeah. Yeah.
Should we just show up, not calling? Because, they may have a reasons not to call you back.
Well, that's true.
Well,
That's
the building
true.
inspector inspects that too.
Yeah, the building inspector does inspect that.
Yeah.
All right.
But still, I should probably take a look at that, yeah.
And so across the street from that, sort of across the street,
There's a
they were,
trailer?
they were right next to the trail.
Yeah,
So you pass the trail, then there was one house, second house, and then there's this motor home,
yeah.
which looks livable, but I never see anybody in it. And if it's livable, I'm just wondering how you connect the septic system, how you connect the water, electricity, the whole bit.
Well, what you're supposed to do legally, if it's, you're supposed to go with whatever material that is in that trailer, if you want
Right.
to call it, So if it's PVC, you're supposed to use PVC to connect directly into a sewer, whether it be a septic or a town sewer.
Would that, if they decided to do that,
Yeah.
would that be allowed to connect into an existing septic system?
Not existing, I mean, well, it would have, the system would have to be tested before that
See if it had
happened.
capacity?
See if it meets the requirements.
Title V?
Yeah, Title V,
Okay.
yeah. But that's, I mean, I can't just walk in there and say, here I am, I'm here to inspect your
Trailer.
trailer, yeah,
A lot of trailers in Douglas.
yeah, yeah.
A lot of people just have them and, go places in the summer. and
I mean,
park 'em and
some
shut
of
them
these, I mean, we could go around town, let's face it, we could go around town and pick out 1,000 different places that you should probably be looked at. But you
Can't just do that.
can't just do that, it has to be complaints, whatever. Okay, so, are we all set?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so next on here is Agnieszka. It's up to you.
Yes, so Agnieszka
Thank you.
Stawka. I'm a public health nurse. So first I want to talk about the shared services grant. We applied, we received with several other towns. And the exciting news is that we, as a couple towns, as a group, hired 2 health agents, like very experienced people who will be supporting the towns. So they are not to replace any existing agents, but that was said so many times. Not to replace anyone, this is just to support the agents. And what they're gonna do, like they will be helping where is a need with the restaurant inspections. They're qualified to do inspections. They qualify to do also one of them I think is like septic inspections.
Yeah,
So
Title V.
yes, Title V. So they can cover. They can cover for people like when they are away or there's like more work. And they also are willing to review, check all the bylaws in each town and see if they can come up with something, together for all the towns so we can be on the same page. Or we can also ask them to do something for us. So they will be working maybe we're gonna have them maybe 1 day every 2 weeks, probably, or every week, depends. How much work do we have for them? And we will be responsible to provide the work. So this could be office work. One of them will be a health agent helping us with the website. Because Krista has no time and I don't have enough knowledge to do the website. And our website is very basic, and compared to other towns, there is nothing on it.
So who do we have that could help us?
One of them will be helping. Those people who are hired.
Okay, so they would be able to,
Yes, so this is one of the projects we have. Help us with the website, keep up to date with the informations, update on regular basis. The website, make it appealing, make it colorful.
attractive, yeah,
Yes.
something that
Like
people will
some
catch their
towns
eye.
have beautiful
Yeah.
websites because they have IT guys who are working with the Board of Health and
Yeah.
this is, they are good with it.
Don't ask me.
No, but you know what? We interviewed many people applied for the job. We have interviewed a bunch of the people, and I know Dick went to several of the interviews. But those people, one of them is already working for Northbridge, I think. She's doing some inspections, and she got very good
Really?
recommendations.
Let me ask you, is there a possibility for long-term employment, or?
So right now, with the grant is for 3 years.
Okay,
So we got $270,000 for a year, for 3 years.
yeah,
And they said after that, there is a chance that it's gonna be extended.
okay.
So this is full-time benefit positions for both agents, and doesn't cost us a penny.
Great.
Yes, Northbridge is a hosting town,
Uh-huh.
so they are hired by Northbridge. and this is where they receive the benefits.
I see, so
Yes.
the benefits go to Northbridge, but then they distribute the...
Yes, yes, but but they pay them from the grant. They don't pay them
Sure.
from their budget. So we are still like talking. We have a meeting next week, I think. Just talking more like how we're gonna schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I requested them for us on Tuesdays because this is the day when we have a long day, and this is the day when I'm usually in the office. So we're working with them. So brainstorm now, see like what they can be helping you with. Because like I said, they will be here to help us. So even
That's good.
Yeah, maybe like when you will be doing the inspections, maybe you can take one
Sure.
of them with you to show them around the town. Like
Sure.
see.
Sure.
And they seem like very knowledgeable. They're just like young people graduated recently. One of them has a master's in public health from BU. Like educated, smart.
I don't want them to show me up.
They seem like so much fun. Like,
Maybe I- Never mind.
They can be like a really great source of
Yeah.
information for me because there's so many things I don't know.
Good. Question, has either one or both been hired?
Yes, it's a girl, it's a Daniel
Both?
and Danielle. It's a girl and boy, Daniel and Danielle. Yes, so both are hired, yes.
So they can do any kind of inspection that the town needs? or-
They inspect pools, camps, they have experience, restaurants. We also will receive, they got like a tablet with the special program for inspections, that we have an inspector.
Yes,
So this is not to
yes.
replace our inspectors.
right.
But you know what, like if our inspector, like I said, has to go on the leave or cannot
Sure,
do it,
sure.
they can jump in and cover us.
Great.
So we are not left with
Yeah, yeah.
no one. So,
Great.
that's
Why is the state doing this?
because they realized through the COVID how unprepared and understaffed our Board of Health
Okay,
are.
okay.
And that was always the part which was a little bit overlooked and underappreciated.
Sure.
And I think COVID taught them a huge lesson that this is important part of towns, and we need to invest.
Sure.
There is another grant which I also signed, join. They don't want to give money to the towns, but they want to give money to like a group of towns for shared services.
Sure, sure.
So like as a town, we wouldn't be able to apply for those grants,
Right.
but because we joined other towns, that's why it qualifies. And there is another one to hire a nurse and share to help us with when it's like with contact tracing. Because was a state agency, CTC, and it's like slowly dying. I think they're gonna discontinue the services at the end of the year. And and I hate to use them anyway because it was a mess. And Kristen knows how many times like I had a husband.
I know you
did
have
the
a
contact
husband.
tracing. I did the contact tracing. Like I had a resident, and 3 weeks later, wife tested positive, and was so many cases I had to send some to CTC. And the wife would call me. It's like, why you didn't call me? Nobody called me. When you gonna call me?
Right.
So they never got the
Yeah.
phone calls. It was really scary with the school age kids. When parents tested positive, sometimes school nurses didn't even know
Really?
because they were not contacting
They don't
schools.
follow up with it, yeah.
No, it was scary.
That is, yeah.
So, I always was sending the cases to them when I had absolutely no other option. So the nurse, we will be able to hire if we get the grant. It's going to be also,
good.
we're going to share her
That is good,
among
yeah.
a couple
Yeah.
towns, and like she will be working when needed. But until that time, it's going to take some time, of course, interviewing, posting the job, interviewing.
Well, they work at transfer stations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for food.
Yeah.
We get a lot of jobs for.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Oh,
that's
Bob,
great.
looks like you can take some time off then.
Yeah, yeah.
That'll be nice.
They are also said that they are have a good experience with report writing.
Oh.
Like like even like letters, reports.
Right here.
They all are
They can write all my reports.
experience in that field, which is I think great.
That's great.
Yeah, that's very good. Something popped into my head, and it just popped right out, which it doesn't take much. But
And just quickly, at Oktoberfest, we are planning to do like, as I mentioned, table with some
that's what I was going.
materials,
That's what I was
like
gonna ask.
educational materials for the residents.
Oh, good.
Like different, we have a different brochures from the state about, one is like about gambling, about drugs, how, the one is like a nice booklet for parents, how to recognize the signs that your child may be taking drugs. Like really good stuff. So we're planning to set a table and be there just to provide some educational materials.
That's great.
Awesome.
Excellent. Okay, are we set there? I would say so. Now we have transfer station issues. Again, we already mentioned that George is leaving us, so I think we're in the process of addressing that. Do you have anything on transfer station? I know that.
Yeah, in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, tonnages are looking really good.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they
Really
are-
good.
They are really looking good, but
Holy heck.
I spoke to Dick the other day, and he said they're trying to put more into the, he he feels that the readings are not correct on, the pounds per square PSI are
Thinks the
not
gauges are
correct. Huh?
The gauges are off, you think?
Yeah, he feels that the gauges are off, and he's able to put more in, so the tonnage has been better,
Yeah.
Looks really good, yeah.
Yeah,
Those might be the highest.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen higher than 12.98.
yeah, for
Yeah, no,
for an
that's-
average, those are really high numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, there are a couple of things that I
Yep. Go
left
ahead.
at your place. Both of them relate to the bottles and cans collections, which appears to be going very well. I was amazed. If somebody had told me that we'd collect 2,000 or 3,000 cans and bottles, I would say that was really a good week. The first week was over 8,500. The second week was over 10,000 bottles and cans.
That were redeemable cans?
Yeah. Wow. That's at the collection centers. That's what they say that we got. So those are really, amazingly high numbers.
Yeah.
3 other groups have worked after that, and they haven't bothered to count the cans and bottles yet. And I've called them, and it's just the way they work. The Boy Scouts collect and collect and collect and collect, and then get all the boys together and count them. And so they aren't at a point where they want to get the boys together. Okay, that's the way they work.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
Is that a problem, though? I mean, is that
No,
storage-wise?
not for me.
Well, where are you storing it then?
That's their issue.
Oh.
No, there are some issues that, this is one of those seemingly simple things,
Yeah,
but there are a whole series of issues that go with it, like who supplies the bags? They supply the bags. You want the money, you supply the bags.
yeah, we're just giving them a location that they can,
You can pick them up, you have to be out by 4. That's what I kept saying to them. You must be out by 4 PM, and not 1 minute after. So, and they've all been good about that.
yeah,
We've been talking about the winter.
yeah,
What do you do in the winter? And what the groups seem to want to do is to continue the collection of bottles and cans as long as they can. And there's a letter in here, which was from me to Ben Tocino,
yeah,
so that's there. Those of you who may or may not know Ben, he runs the red containers around town, but he also does rubbish collection, so he has these large containers with the flip top,
Yep.
and he's buying 2 for us to use. His expense, no expense to us, no expense to the nonprofits.
right. Now, you don't feel like it's interfered with any of the traffic flow or anything like that? That's,
We worked hard at that. I received no feedback from the guys.
okay,
As a matter of fact, they've been very helpful at times,
yeah,
answering questions.
yeah,
They do the signs each week,
yeah,
and I've tried to stay out of their way.
Yeah, no, that's, I'm not saying, I think you're doing a great job, don't get me wrong. I think you're doing,
But you're asking the right questions.
yeah.
Yeah, we don't wish them to be involved to any degree except what they choose to do.
Say
Right.
1 week they got 8,000?
8,000, over 8,600.
Holy man.
And the next week was over 10,000.
Well, no wonder they want to keep doing it. It's like
Yeah.
a small paycheck. It's like
No
400
kidding.
bucks.
No
That's
kidding.
pretty nice for a nonprofit.
Yeah. 400 bucks a
$400,
week.
$500 a week?
I mean, it's
Bonus.
decent, it's really decent, and, you know, he's devoting a lot of his time to doing this.
And it's a benefit for us, in case somebody missed it. All
I
those
missed it.
cans are not in the tin container.
Yeah, oh, yeah, okay.
Right.
That's true, too, that's true, too.
So we've already skipped 1 month of
Right.
that.
Right, right,
And that's what, $167 or something? That
yeah,
True.
yeah,
Jeez.
So it's going well.
good.
And what I'm trying to do is to ease it towards them so that they're running it, not me.
Yeah.
I would like to
yeah.
see like multiple nonprofits be able to utilize that
Oh,
too.
Everyone that raises their hand gets a shot. And there were about 23 of them in town,
Oh, wow.
Really, that many?
of which,
But see, like you say, they've got to come up, you've got to come up with a system that works for all of them the same, not,
yes,
Yeah.
Or something?
yeah,
Yeah.
if they work within the rules, that's fine, but it's not your responsibility to work within their, you know,
so they're working, I have a ground rules
yeah,
package in a draft form, which I've sent out to them and asked for their comments. And the ground rules say, these are the steps you got to take, guys.
yeah, yeah.
And they've been doing that. There are
Good.
about, I said there were about 23 in town. There are about 9 or maybe 10 that are active.
Oh,
And the others have said no.
well, that's fine.
The police have said no, the fire has said no, the PTO has said no, the Girl Scouts have said no.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, the churches have said no.
Well, yeah, and I can see where it doesn't work for everybody, too, because, you know, they have to have somebody out there who's dealing with,
You gotta
know,
pick 'em up.
picking them up and doing
Yeah.
the whole thing, so, yeah. And we thank Ben for his bends
Yes,
and bins.
bins,
And,
bins.
yeah. That's a good thing for us, too, yeah.
The first week, the senior citizens, this was random draw. They randomly drew, and senior citizens went first week.
Yep.
They kept track of the hours that they put into getting the money.
Mm-hmm.
And their number was 36 person hours to get their $445.
But they're not doing anything else anyway.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
that same concept applies to
They're
every
not
group.
out there like you young fellas.
Yeah, but it applies to every group.
Yeah, yeah,
They have to put the person power in to get the money out.
yeah.
And so some of them choose not to.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's their choice.
So
No, that's great. I think you're doing a great
you're
job.
okay with continuing this?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, right now, it doesn't affect us, really. I mean, it does in a positive way, like you
As long as
say.
there's no liability.
No,
For any reason.
not really.
Shape or
Not
form.
really. Right now, I
always
see,
thought it was okay.
They sign a release
yep,
before they get to participate.
that's good.
And the release says, we, nor the members of the town, blah, blah, blah.
Responsible for.
Are responsible.
Was that council?
Yeah. That works for
The
me.
town council says, right, that he is working with his transfer station to do this, and there is a form. I said, fine, send me the form. And every time I ask him, he says, we're working on it. So I said, fine, I'll write my own. So I have a copy of the form here if you want to read it. I think I sent you a copy.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
That's all right. Did you send a copy of it to town council by any chance?
Yes,
Oh, good.
no comment from town council.
No news is good news.
That's exactly the way I took it.
Okay, are we all set here on that? I just wanted to continue on the transfer station.
Yes, go ahead.
We are taking air conditioners, evidently solar panels. I didn't know
Well,
where.
air conditioners, my understanding is that we shut that off for a while.
Yeah, well,
My
something,
understanding is back on.
Wood panels too?
No, stop. My understanding is that air conditioners are back on,
yes,
so we are taking them.
yes.
All right, how are we getting rid of them?
Why, do you have somebody that
No, that was the problem initially, right?
No, the initial problem was somebody complained about somebody making money off of taking the units.
Right, getting
And
rid of them.
getting-
And
no.
someone was making money off it,
Yeah,
not us.
not us.
Right.
But that's okay. We were just taking the air conditioners, as long as they remove the gas from the air conditioner,
Yes,
then we would take it. But they were charged a fee. Okay? So they took, whoever it was, took the air conditioners and scrapped them themselves.
right,
And made whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
what do I care?
right.
I mean, that doesn't matter to us, if they're gonna take the thing and do whatever they wanna do with it. As long as, like I said, as long as there's no gas in there and that, you know, it's ready to go, that's fine. But I don't know what the issue was. Is there an issue?
No, apparently we're okay again, but
Yeah.
somebody complained at one time
Right.
that somebody was
So
making money,
far-
blah,
I
blah,
think
blah.
years ago, I think,
Yeah.
and it was before I joined the board, but I think it was, you know, not long before, but I think we had an issue with one of the workers there taking, like, you know, it started with just cans and bottles and then went on to that stuff.
Yeah,
And then
I
it grew
remember, yeah.
to truckloads of scrap at some
Yeah,
point, you know,
yeah,
so
yeah.
it just was one of those things that just kept,
Yeah.
like, sure, take that, yeah, take, and then it grew
You're
into
right,
something much more.
right.
What I can tell you is that they are the guys there are very sensitive about this and don't take,
Yeah, so in other words, when they file for an LLC, that's when they realize this is getting out of control.
Right, the side hustle is, yeah.
This is going to be a big business. Okay, so solar panels also, there's a lot of silver in solar panels.
well,
you
but the
know.
solar panels I'm talking about is putting them on the former dump covered over.
Oh,
And there are people who specialize in that.
yeah,
And we talked about it
yeah,
way
we
back
have.
when and
we have
never
spoken
went
about it.
anywhere with it. And
Yeah.
it just strikes me as though we should go to the specialized person and say,
I'm just very concerned about, I don't care how specialized they are, I'm concerned about
Cap.
the cap.
yeah,
We had
It's
that
not
company
worth-
come in and talk to us, and they
Yeah.
couldn't guarantee the cap,
That's
is what
right,
happened.
that's right.
They talked to us
Yeah.
a couple of different times,
Yeah.
at length.
Is it worth the risk, you know?
And they would be their money, their thing, they would pay rent, but they
Yeah.
couldn't guarantee the integrity of the cap.
Yeah, and I worry about the test wells too, you know, I mean, that could affect that. Anything that could have possibly affect that cap
Cap is
would be
already
not, it
30,
just to
40.
me wouldn't be worth it, you know? I mean, for the
Right, so you-
benefit, in other words, who's going to come in here and say, I guarantee that this is not going to affect the cap?
Yeah. And willing
Okay,
to pay
put
for
it
it.
in
if
writing
does.
here.
yeah, well, yeah.
And
Yeah.
willing to pay for the damages if
Yeah,
it does.
yeah, but then they're out of business in a few years, and we're stuck with,
That's another thing.
Okay.
Solar companies change
Yeah.
hands a lot.
Yeah.
I know that the company that did our panels is no longer in business, and they've
Yeah.
actually changed hands 3 times in
Right.
6 years,
right,
which means that if anything happened, I mean, who do you chase?
yeah.
Okay, I'll shut up and go away.
No, you're doing good, you're doing good.
Yeah.
But I will raise it occasionally, and
Yeah, that's okay, that's okay. Okay, so we're all set there.
I don't know what the last one is.
Water test,
You said something about it, testing the water in the office or something? A while back.
water test.
In what office? Your office?
Transfer station.
Oh,
Oh, in other words,
has anyone ever
Location?
tested the water in the transfer station?
why would we have to do that?
Because they drink it.
Let them drink it. That's what I say.
I drink my water.
I did.
I haven't tested my water in a
Well,
while.
it's town water, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. I drink my water.
okay. All right, before we leave transfer station, let me,
Why, am I growing here where I'm not supposed to be?
you know what those are?
Yeah,
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 batteries.
those are the bad ones.
You know what those are?
Yes.
Okay. And you know what those
Actually,
are?
I just
And you
changed
know what
my
those
battery
are?
today.
Yeah,
Button batteries?
Yeah,
yeah,
those are the bad ones. Not
They
supposed to
contain
throw those away.
mercury?
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Can't throw them
They're
away.
supposed to be thrown away,
yeah.
Nope.
but there is nobody anywhere in town that I know of that's saying, don't throw them away, we collect them here.
That's right. We've asked in the past, I've gone to the fire station, and they don't want to deal with it. So,
I'd like to set up at least explore, and come back to the group,
yep,
explore collecting it at the transfer station. And what I called was the NEDT
NEDT, yeah,
this morning,
Yeah.
not demolition.
that's okay.
What's DT stand for?
I don't know that. I see them all around
Disposal
town.
technology.
Yes.
Okay.
New England.
Whatever it is, the
And it's-
acronym is.
They charge $7.50 a pound,
How much?
$7.50 for a pound of these.
Oh, that would take a lot, that.
That would take a lot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So what I'd like to do is explore it and come back to here, possibly collect them at the transfer station, so we get them out of the waste stream.
That would be better to get them out of the trash, I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that would be a good idea. I mean, anything containing mercury shouldn't really be in the trash, and I'm sure a lot of people just throw those pig.
Oh, sure.
I mean, they look
away.
innocent enough, and they're small, and what do I do with them?
Right, I can remember being a kid and having the teacher tell me to go throw away his fluorescent
try
bulbs
putting
and throw away the fluorescent light bulb.
try putting them in those slot machines there.
Right, see if anything happens. Yeah, so
Okay,
I
thank-
think we should. I think
Thanks for
mercury
listening.
needs to be
Okay,
contained.
so bills and warrants? Nope.
Nice.
How about old business and new business? Anything?
We're gonna have some new business,
The only thing that we,
about mercury pretty soon.
yeah, the only thing that I was going to say about that was that Dick has been working very hard on the, doing a good job, I might add, on these recyclables and everything. I think
Yeah.
it's good. You're
Yeah,
doing a
you've been
great
doing
job.
great, Dick.
At one time, it felt like rolling a rock up a hill.
You know, change is always difficult for people, you know,
Yeah.
and even myself, I'm a skeptic when it comes to that kind of thing, because,
There's nothing wrong with that.
no, but
No, you have to be very
you
careful.
got to convince me more than to say, oh, yeah, that's a good idea, you know, kind of thing. So,
Well, it's hard to fix something that's not broke, so it's.
well, that's it.
You want
That's
to,
it.
add things that are gonna make
Right.
it better, like the mercury, it's good to get mercury out of the mainstream.
That's right.
It's not
That's
good,
right.
so.
That's right.
Things,
So-
little things we can do.
You have a way of getting rid of thermometers, right? And things like that that contain mercury?
No,
No, we don't have
No.
anything.
You do not? You do not?
no,
There's really no mercury collection
No.
in town.
no.
But I figured
Should be
that,
along with this.
but I figured
Yeah.
that,
No, we only collect sharps here, we don't from the residents.
all right, would you two be willing to explore collecting glass mercury stuff
But we have no room to keep it here.
No.
Where would we keep it? In the office?
in a box? And they get rid of the box.
Oh, one of those glass things.
I don't know if they
They get
want
rid
it
of the box.
around here. I don't know if they
No, you know
really
what,
want
I
it
think-
around here.
Yeah.
I feel like the transfer station along, maybe something next to the barrels would be the better
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Probably outside where
We don't want a broken.
fume,
Can't give you everything, Dick.
any gas.
Can't give you
With the
everything.
little balls
Yeah.
on the floor.
One thing at a time.
Knock over the box, there goes all the
We
battery.
have no room to keep it, our.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm glad you didn't say the magic word, can't, because can't is right here.
No, I feel like, that would be.
Yeah, no, you're right, you're right. So, next thing on the agenda would be to schedule a meeting, because they're talking about 2 weeks, that,
Yeah, does that mean we have to have like another emergency meeting in 2 weeks probably?
Well, Rich said they have 2 weeks.
they have
To
to.
get
Get us
the,
the report, then we need to look at it.
And then we need to schedule a meeting.
Okay, so probably schedule it for
3
the,
weeks, maybe?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The 18th?
sounds good to me.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for coming, too.
Oh, of course, my fiance was heading home and I was gonna meet him, and then he got stuck in traffic, so he grabbed my son and I booked it out the door.
I understand those
Yeah, I'm like,
situations.
we don't know, he has no time when he'll be home, so.
Well, yeah, What does he work in construction?
Yes,
Oh, yeah, you never know.
he drives trucks, so it's like,
Yeah, I get it.
It's all right. So October 18th?
Do we make a motion to
What
I would like to make,
is that a Monday,
Yeah.
Tuesday?
Make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
What happened to the meeting?
Corey
date?
Howard makes a motion to adjourn.
Did
I made
did we
a
set- did we
second.
set the meeting dates?
The 18th,
18th,
October 18th.
October 18th.
seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Meeting is adjourned.